As a report compiled by research group Ipsos revealed that South African Revenue Services is losing an estimated 7 billion rand annually due to illicit cigarette trading. The report was released yesterday, and it also stated that legitimate local cigarette manufacturers who are registered at SARS are responsible for selling these cigarettes to illegal traders. Joining us now, we've got the Tobacco Institute of Southern Africa, TISA, saying that this is a direct result of the termination of the SARS unit that looked into the illicit sales of cigarette. And we're going to be continuing our conversation with Francois van der Merwe, who is the CEO of TISA. Francois, thanks again. Thanks very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Leanne. Good to be back.
So we talk about how this actual research worked, and I'm getting a little bit more of an understanding where Ipsos basically traveled the country, visited about 135,000 spaza shops, hawkers, general dealers, all of them selling cigarettes. The findings, which you have said yourself, they discovered 3 out of every 4 shops in the non-organized trade industry, spazas, corner cafes, general dealers, sold these illegal cigarettes. That equates to more than 100,000 shops selling illicit cigarettes. How is this possible? And I ask you, from the tobacco industry, I know it's an informal market, but it's not like they're selling it like an illegal drug. It is out there, it's being sold, it's above board. But how are they able to circumvent the system? How are they doing this?
Leanne, once again, we can't criminalize all those shops, that 100,000 shops, because they are not the culprits. They are getting a product. They're obviously looking for cheap products because there's a demand for cheap products in the market. We have to trace it back to the origin and the source of manufacture. Because if you do pay the taxes at the source, as it is supposed to be done, it will not be possible to find cigarettes in the market for as low as 5 rand or at an average of 10 to 12 rand. And this is actually good news because it means that the solution is very easy. SARS is the tax collector in this country. SARS needs to make sure that all taxes are paid so that the market out there is equal for everybody. And this can be stamped out right at the distribution, at the manufacturer gate, because that is where the taxes are paid. If the taxes are paid at the source, then you would not find these billions of cigarettes in the market. They would simply not be available.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about SARS now, because, I mean, this one company that you keep referring to, and this is from the findings, they say that this company is responsible for 75% of the illicit trade, which you mentioned, and it's in a factory that is actually licensed to SARS, and we're talking about Gold Leaf Tobacco. Tom Moyane terminated a special investigating unit that was there to look into illegal cigarette trade, and this mushroomed. Is there more details as to why he eliminated this unit, and how much has it mushroomed since it's been terminated?
Leanne, thank you. I want to make it very clear that we're not on a crusade here to nail SARS. In fact, we want to work with SARS and we want to support them, and we have. Our history with SARS goes back as far as 2005 up to 2014. TISA actually even was awarded a certificate of how a model public-private partnership should work. So we have a pride, history and good relationship with SARS up to 2014. Where Project Honey Badger and the investigative unit was going to investigate the illicit cigarette trade, which was a fantastic step. Why it was terminated under the leadership of Tom Moyane, we don't know. We're not privy to that. But if you read the books of Johan van Lochenberg, Jacques Pau, you listen to the inquiry at SARS, senior SARS officials saying there were instructions given from the leadership of SARS to stop investigations into the illegal cigarette trade. So if you just join the dots, it's very simple to follow the storyline that there was corruption of some sort in SARS. Between 2014 and 2017, SARS did nothing on the illicit cigarette trade. I want to make a distinction also between then and now, and we are encouraged by the step taken by the President of appointing Mark Kingan as acting new Commissioner of SARS. We are giving him his full support. We are encouraged by Mark Kingan's commitment to Parliament and in public that he will take steps to address the illicit cigarette trade, because even Parliament is very concerned about the massive losses to government.
I mean, without a SARS unit to monitor the illegal trade, what is the tax service actually doing to curb illegal tobacco business? Currently, what is being done?
Well, between 2014 and 17, nothing was done. So what we are proposing to SARS, Leanne, is to take immediate steps to put customs officials in all cigarette factories in this country immediately. This is something that happened before, where alcohol and cigarette factories were permanently monitored by customs officials to make sure that the cigarette cases that come out of the factory are actually declared to SARS and all the duties are taken. This is low-hanging fruit, Leanne. There's no difficulty around this. We offer to SARS training. We will train their people in a legal factory to see how it works, and this is not rocket science. So it is steps that can be taken immediately, and the return on investment is a 7 billion for SARS, which is massive in the context of what our country is losing and needing at the moment in terms of revenue.
Yeah. Jobs as well. I mean, I'd like to talk about jobs, because in the same response to what was released yesterday, GLT goes out and says that the big firms have a monopoly, and this is it's a big problem. That they're saying that there's a monopoly in the informal sector by the tobacco giants, and this basically forces them, I beg your pardon, in the formal sector, this forces them into the informal sector. And what happens is that the multinationals don't have manufacturing plants in South Africa, and that they should engage with local manufacturers to create more jobs. And this is one way of doing it. Again, let's get a response from you on that.
Leanne, again, it's taking the eye off the ball. Some TISA members, one TISA member does have a factory. Another TISA member closed its factory in South Africa 2 years ago. And another point I want to make, that the narrative that these companies use, that they are just small local manufacturers, is also a lot of nonsense. These companies are very big. Gold Leaf Tobacco is bigger than some of the multinational companies that are members of TISA. RG is now the second biggest brand in the market after Peter Stuyvesant. And 90% of RG sells at an average price of R10.50. So the narrative and the excuse that they are small local companies is absolutely not true. The numbers and the threats on jobs is a relevant issue that you raise. The legal industry in this country lost volumes of 20% over the past 5 years, 15% over the past 2 years, and 9.3% over the past year. And that impacts on jobs in the legal sector. That impacts on the value chain down to farmer level. Farmers have to reduce their production in this country because there's a less demand for local products and local leaf. So the fact that multinationals are these players from outside is absolutely not true. They support the local industry. They buy from local farmers. They support the local formal and informal trade. They invest in this country. So that is taking the eye off the ball to make that statement.
All right, Francois, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. We do thank you very, very much for your time and for talking to us about this. Francois van der Merwe, the CEO of the Tobacco Institute of Southern Africa, talking about that Ipsos report on the trading of illegal cigarettes that was released yesterday at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We did invite SARS to please come and participate in this conversation as well. As mentioned at the beginning of this interview, they said they're still studying the report and will make a comment once they have done so.